AllStars, I should have 3 by my name. They say I cried about not making it. It's free to complain. It's deeper than fame. It's principle. My feelings hurt minimal. Second team additional. 20 M's, boy, it's fixable. Boy, it's fixable. They robbed me though, and it was criminal. But hey, to the game I was chalking it. I'm trying to bring a ship to Portland just like Walter did.
And welcome back to the Trailblazers edition of the Second String Sports Show. I'm your host, Jake.
Along with Grant.
And we are back for the second installment, episode 2 of our Strictly Rip City Trailblazers podcast, where we talk anything and everything Trailblazers basketball, life talk.
Anything.
Literally anything.
You may have heard our Trailblazers preview show, which was put out a couple weeks ago before the season started.
Yep.
If you haven't heard that, you can go check it out. This is the second episode, hoping to do some more for sure over the season, but this is our first kind of, check-in episode.
Exactly.
After a couple games under our belt, just kind of see where we're at this point.
As we are recording this right now, it is about 20 minutes or so until the Trailblazers versus Phoenix game, but obviously, once you guys hear this, that game will be concluded, and this episode will probably be coming out before the Los Angeles Clippers game tomorrow night, so make sure to look out for that.
Yeah, look out for that. Should be an interesting Suns game tonight. I mean, it's weird for some reason. The Suns,
the goddamn Suns,
just have the Blazers number, and I don't know what it is. It's like they're not as talented, and they always seem to come out and just know exactly the game plan against us.
Devin Booker is just absolutely inconceivably good this year.
Yeah, he is going to be a really good player, and if you remember, he's still really young, so he's got a lot of room to grow. He's already good. He's going to be a super good player. That's someone that obviously need to shut down tonight if we want success.
All right, so before we get into too much of this episode, remember you can follow I guess we didn't shout this out at the beginning, but most of you listening to this probably know us from our Trailblazers Twitter personalities. I am at Mr. Portland, Mr._Portland on Twitter.
And I'm at Rip City Diehards, all one word.
And if you are answering the questions as I speak on my Instagram, it's the same thing, Mr._Portland. We're going to be active on those accounts throughout the whole season. We're probably going to release most of the Trailblazers podcast through that, but because, we do the Second String Sports Show as a regular podcast as well, talking NFL, baseball, that type of thing.
But we try to get the two best co-hosts together to talk some Blazers.
The only one that matters. Jeff and Logan are kind of like the Pippins to our Jordan TBH fam. So
yeah, I mean Rip City is the best.
The bread and butter of the Second String Sports Show.
And the best place in America.
Out there now, so.
Yep, best place in America. Lillard McCollum for president. It's election night. Yeah. Let's just vote them.
Oh, God, yeah. I was just about to say something about that. But if you're ever watching a Trailblazers game and you see something you want to interact with us, we're active on Twitter throughout all the games. Or if you want us to talk about something in a future Trailblazers podcast, you can hashtag Second String Sports or hashtag Second SS on Twitter and tweet it at our Blazer Twitters. Or at Second String Sports with a Z for our podcast Twitter. So let's get into it. Trailblazers, we're going to be doing more of these throughout the season, throughout the week, before games, after games, talking about games, anything that really goes down Trailblazers related, even if we got an interview. If you haven't checked it, actually, haven't plugged this yet, check out our SoundCloud or our YouTube. We just released a Lamar Hurd interview last week. If you don't know who he is, you're probably not a Trailblazers fan, and you should stop listening to the podcast. And
yeah, that's a pretty good summary right there. I mean, if you haven't been watching the Blazer games, then you're probably not going to know what we're talking about. So
you can shut the hell up. Not you, Grant.
Oh yeah, thanks.
The ignorant fellows out there who don't watch the Trailblazers. Anyways, Lamar Hurd is new color commentator for the Blazers. We interviewed him. Was that 2 weeks ago?
Around 2 weeks ago, yeah. It was.
Check out the interview. It's about 35 minutes long. Super cool guy. Great interview. So check that out. But
yeah, let's get into it.
Enough of that. Let's get into it. Trailblazers.
4-3.
4-3
on the young year. And it really has not felt like we've played even close to our best basketball, which I know that we kind of had, the expectation that we come out really hot and win a bunch of games.
Yeah.
And that hasn't necessarily happened.
No.
But it is a good sign that we have a winning record with the kind of basketball we've played, because there's been a couple times where you've been down.
Yeah.
And Damian's brought us back, and he's looking like a legit MVP candidate, like we talked about.
And I mean, just last game, CJ McCollum tied his career high with 37 points. So that's not been the play that we've been concerned with. CJ and Dame, 25 points to 30 points a game, pretty much a given at this point.
Yeah,
and we've seen it so far. What I sort of want to ask our listeners and want to ask you is, what do you think of sort of the secondary roles that we sort of predicted back in our preview show? The Al-Farouq Aminus, the Evan Turners. Al-Farouq Aminu, his production has been down. There was one game he shot for 0 for 6 from the field. Absolutely horrendous from 3. And then there's Evan Turner, who's almost looked like a non-factor out there completely. $70 million non-factor.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, Evan Turner, we'll just stick on the topic of Evan Turner really quick. He has been disappointing for those who have watched, and, do not give up on him right now. It's obviously a young season. It's going to take time.
I'm not.
Yeah, I know you're not saying that, but, there's those people out there. I heard someone who I was sitting next to at the Warriors game who was yelling Evan Turner's trash, which I don't think that's really the case. And he was a Blazer fan. So if you're out there, I don't think he's trash. I disagree. He's a good player, obviously. And it's going to take him time to get acclimated with the system. He has been disappointing. I think, personally, he's been trying to force things way too much. He's pushing the ball too much when he should be passing. He's dribbling out the clock.
He dribbles out the clock a lot, is what I've noticed.
And taking some contested elbow jumpers that are just not high percentage looks.
No.
That is his shot, but he's not letting it really come to him in the flow of the offense, which is something that I think is going to improve as the year goes on, and he gets teammate chemistry and knows where people are going to be, where the passes can go. So Evan Turner is a guy who's been disappointing. I think he'll pick it up. He is someone who does a lot on the floor, so even if he's not hitting shots, he's getting assists, rebounds, so at least that's been a positive.
Yeah.
He's just been kind of a drawback in a lot of these games, and that's something that I look to improve on.
I mean, you can look at, last game against Memphis, he had 0 points, but 4 points, a block, a steal, not 4 points. He had 0 points, 4 assists, block, and a steal. So,
yeah, I mean, it's going to take him time.
Yeah.
And it's been a little frustrating so far, but you have to be patient with it. He's a new player coming in. He's obviously a good guy and a good person to be around the team, so at least we got that going, and I think he's going to get into it.
What have you thought so far of Ed Davis? Because I feel like he is shrunken in the lineup.
I'd like to see Ed Davis.
He's not seeing the minutes he saw last year, which is for obvious reasons, but still.
Yeah, I'd like to see Ed Davis a little bit more.
I'd like
personally.
to see him more.
He has a lot of energy. Brings he brings that energy off the bench, which is what you need from a second unit. And I like Ed Davis a lot as a player. I like his attitude. I like his drive. I want to see him out there more.
He's the hustle of Rip City for sure.
And I frankly think that he should be getting more time. Obviously, I trust Stotts, but
yeah.
I think that might be something as we go forward, kind of develop, because Myers has also played sparingly, but he hasn't looked great under any circumstance either.
That's like saying grass is green, soup is hot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
One person who I think, going off that second unit that we were just talking about, Mo Harkless.
Oh, Mo's played excellent.
Has looked really, really good.
Also not getting the minutes I would like him to get.
Yeah, I mean, especially last game, he had 18 and 16
last game was
something.
His Trailblazer career high. Obviously, it was 18 and 6, I believe. Yeah.
Thought didn't he have 16 rebounds? I thought so.
Let me check.
Yeah, I don't know. He had a good overall game. I think that he is kind of coming into that role.
18 and 7.
7. I don't know why I thought 16.
I was gonna say, fam,
yeah,
that's hella high.
That was I don't know. That was right off the
2011 share.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought
18 and 16.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my bad.
Go for it, Ed.
But he's had a good.
No, sorry.
Man, we're all over the
election
place.
day, man.
Yeah, but he's someone who has to be that kind of guy who can be that third scorer and someone who can be in that corner and hit that three because he's going to be open a lot of the time when they collapse on either Dame or CJ. So, he was the breakout player that I picked. I remember on the preview show, if you go back and hear that. And I think he's kind of starting to get into a flow. And, he needs to make some of those shots if we're going to win a lot of games. So,
what have you thought so far? Well, we haven't seen it in recent games, but the little emergence of the white chocolate zaddy.
I don't even know who we're talking about right now.
Oh, you know.
Oh, God.
You would run your fingers through his hair and call him zaddy.
Jake Layman?
Yes.
Jake Layman,
Only greats are named Jake.
Yeah, I guess that's accurate. He's someone who played really well in the Warriors game, but it's hard to know because that was in garbage time with no pressure, And I do like him a lot. I think that he is a guy who could be put in a situation, when Al Farouk is taken out, who can hit that stretch three for sure. I mean, he's a shooter. And someone who I think at times might even be better in that role. He's obviously not as good of a defender as Al, and I'm not saying he should be put him in the starting lineup or something like that. I'm not saying that. But I think that he is someone who could come in and fill a need pretty effectively if Al Farouk was to go down or to go out or need rest or something like that.
Mm-hmm. What have you thought so far of the performance of Mason Plumlee?
Mason's looked pretty decent, I think.
He looked really good in the preseason.
Yeah, I don't think
really good the first couple of games of the year.
Yeah.
But
he's I don't know. He's really up and down for me. I don't know. He
has the potential to be so consistent for us. I see it in him. He just I don't know. He takes some questionable shots as well, but
there was the whole hype about him developing the jumper.
Not there, fam. I don't see it.
I cringe every time Mason Plumlee takes a jumper.
It's ugly.
Honestly,
I don't like.
Yeah, it's. He needs to work on that a little bit more. I get that he can hit it if he's wide open sometimes and maybe the shot clock's running down, but that is not our best option in the offense at all. So I think that is something that needs to just continue to be worked on and not have us rely on that at all. I really overall, there's been a lot of guys who have kind of underperformed or not got up to that standard that they were at last year. I think that Mo Harkless is someone who has looked good. And I want to ask you, someone who we haven't talked about, Noah Vonleh, about his...
Noah Vonleh. That one blowout game he had in the preseason where he went for 20-something. He is looking so much more confident in his shot. He's had, last game he had a few three-pointers, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
He looks like he's built up some stamina and muscle in the paint. He's not timid anymore. He's not taking shots that you cringe at. I think this is, we're hardly into the season, and it's not like we're seeing a consistent Noah like we'd like to, but the kid's so young that I think we're clearly going a step in the right direction with him.
Yeah, he has looked a lot more confident, which is huge for a young player like that. And shout out his hair. I like his hair. It looks sweet. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. I like it.
Shout out Travis Scott.
He does look like Travis Scott.
And just to point it out for the listeners right now who didn't listen to our Lamar Hurd interview, when we asked Lamar sort of a player that he had to pick to sort of have a breakout year and have a high impact this year, it was Noah Vonleh, as a lot of other players on the team also picked. So
yeah, and he's someone who is going to need that extended time to get kind of acclimated in the system. He's not going to go out there and hit a bunch of threes every night like he did the first game of the year. That's not going to happen. He does obviously have the ability to hit that, but he's going to need that more time in the game to just kind of get into the flow of the offense instead of just coming in a little bit and then coming in cold. And, he's not someone who's going to come in right away and just be like an impact, but if he gets some more time, I think he can be a great player for sure.
I'm excited. Sort of someone that we haven't seen yet and haven't talked about, Festus Ezeli, hasn't seen the court yet for the Blazers. I'm not really sure. Has there been an official time? He's saying that he's taking it slow because he wants to be cautious, but
yeah,
I thought we were supposed to see him towards the end of October. Clearly it didn't happen. We're a week into November.
Yeah, it's kind of tough because there hasn't been a lot of information, leaked on that. From what I heard is he had some sort of a little setback and they're taking it cautious, blah, blah, blah. I'm not entirely sure of the details there, but obviously it's Portland, it's centers. We have a lot of depth at that position, like the power forward center type role.
Yeah.
And it's probably smart to take it cautious at this point. We don't need him to come in immediately. But he is someone who would help us long term, especially with that interior defense that we've been so lacking, over the past couple of years, really.
Yeah.
And especially you saw it against the Golden State Warriors, where they just kind of took advantage of us anywhere they wanted. That was something that could have helped there when they were having an off night shooting outside. So that's something that's killed us, and something that Festus Ezeli was brought in here to help with. And I think that once he gets on the court,
should help, hopefully.
it will definitely help. But I do agree with the whole concept of taking it slow, because we do not. It's Portland, and we know that it's history with lower leg injuries.
So that's pretty much, a breakdown of all the players that, really need to be broken down this young into the season. Season is young. But I want to talk about the West a little bit. Golden State Warriors, team we saw last year, absolutely come out in 2K the whole system, have already taken a few quick L's to start the season. One of them being to the Lakers. What do you think of how the Warriors have sort of meshed the new super team stardom of Kevin Durant so far?
Well, it's really been pretty hit or miss, because they have some nights where they look like they gel, just like the Blazers.
Like last night when Steph had the NBA.
Steph had 13 threes.
3-pointers.
And set the NBA record. They have those nights where they look like when they put it all together, they're just
clearly a championship
not
team.
going to be able to be beaten ever, like by anybody in the NBA.
And then you have the game where they got blown out by the Spurs, the game where they lost to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Where it's just not there,
and
like chemistry-wise at all.
And I think that's kind of to be expected at this point. I mean, people are reading a little bit too much into it. When you get a team that has just a handful of stars and one basketball, like, you got to figure out how you're going to share the ball. And it's obviously something that has worked some games, and some games it hasn't. It's something that's going to continue to develop, and we see that potential in games where they look unbeatable. I mean, there obviously are those off nights where they can't quite mesh and figure it all out, but eventually I think it's going to be there. I mean, they're kind of full of like unselfish players and know how to put it all together, and they're a championship team, a lot of those guys. So I think they're going to eventually put it together, but there are going to be nights like this where they lose to the Lakers.
Agreed. Also going off of the West, currently tied for number 1 right now, or 1 and 2 is the Thunder and the Clippers. And this is relevant because when you guys do listen to this podcast, it's going to be game day against the Clippers, who we lost to early in the season.
Yeah.
That's a whole other discussion in itself. Clippers can go crawl themselves into a hole and shoot themselves in the brain, but I hate the Clippers. Clippers are the new Rockets to me. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Clippers. This is an interesting discussion. Just kind of a side note. Clippers seem to be around Portland now, like the biggest rival to Portland.
Clippers are the new beat LA.
Yeah, they are. Like, it's weird how the power has shifted, because I no longer see the Lakers and just think like I hate them.
I see the Clippers and have a burning hate.
It's like Kobe's gone, and it's like they're just not
they're a young
anything
team,
the same.
and it's kind of like
it's like none of them
it's
have
the
any
Lakers.
hate towards Portland. Is
No.
the thing. Like Clippers
Have
and
hate.
us have hate.
Chris Paul didn't even want to acknowledge the fact that Portland plays them hard, like in his little post game whiny ass interview. And then there's Blake, who's had a good year so far.
Yeah,
Real good. I mean, the Clippers are playing real well, but it's the Clippers.
It's still the Clippers.
They're going to be cursed by an injury midseason and lose first round of the playoffs anyway, so it's cool.
Yeah, it's really just interesting how that power in LA has shifted to the Clippers, because I think the Lakers will be good in a couple years, but I still don't think there's going to be that whole beat LA in terms of like Lakers anymore. I think it's the Clippers, and as long as like Blake Griffin, DeAndre, Chris Paul, or at least a couple of those are there, it's going to stay that way.
But yeah, when you guys listen to this, it'll be game day Trailblazers Clippers, so hopefully we get a revenge on that. But moving past the Clippers, sort of going off of the whole Trailblazers rivalry thing, obviously what I like to consider still a rival, the Houston Rockets, as much as it like hurts my throat like I'm swallowing bleach to say this, James Harden, MVP, like
he's a candidate for sure.
He's playing unreasonably good at point guard.
He is playing.
Makes me wonder how the Rockets didn't put this together earlier.
Yeah, he is playing really well, and it's something that, he's been criticized for not being a passer and, taking too many dumb shots and just staying at the line the whole game. And, he's looked really good in that role so far, and it's something that I wonder if he can sustain.
Hopefully not.
Because, when you get to like that long of a season, you kind of start to forget some of these habits at some point, and he may go back to his old shoot first mentality thing, which, I think kind of as the season goes on, you get a little bit more worried about scoring and that sort of thing. And I don't know. I just wonder if he can sustain it. Who knows? He may be able to, he may not. He's looked good so far. Definitely in the MVP conversation, right up there with Dame. I don't know. What's your opinion? Obviously, that's what you just said. You think he's in the MVP conversation?
I think he's in the MVP conversation for now. I mean, he was last year, but I don't know. It's just, with me, the Rockets, I feel like the Rockets are going to do something to screw it up.
Yeah, I mean, then they got to win a lot, too, for him to be in the...
Because they're not winning right now.
That's
the thing. He's playing at an MVP level, but they're not winning, so...
So that's also why I think he could revert back to that whole thing. Like, we're not winning with me passing the ball. I got to kind of take this over myself.
He's not passing very much. He's putting up 30, 38 points a game, but they're losing in classic Rockets fashion, which also, Rockets, we have eternal beef with you for cutting GP2, so...
Yeah, that's also true. Go Beavs.
Yeah, go Beavs. Hopefully he gets... Has he been picked up by a D-League team so far?
I'm not sure on that. I know that...
Hopefully.
He obviously...
should go to the Rockets D-League. I don't know why that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, he might even be... I haven't
He
followed.
might be. I don't know.
It's rough because I think that he's a very talented player, and I think he's going to find some role in the NBA somewhere someday.
It's just he's like... With the new role that Harden has, GP2 is so much like a Patrick Beverley that it's almost like they can't have two. They couldn't, there's no place for him.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
It's interesting. I think he does definitely have a role somewhere in the NBA, just not with the Rockets and
Portland.
Yeah, I was just putting it out there. I wanted GP2 over Jake Layman all day, but I do like Jake Layman.
But also, who knows what Jake Layman could be? Even Kevin Durant gave him a shout out.
True, true. So hopefully GP2 finds a role. But it's been interesting with the whole rival thing.
Yeah.
So.
What else has been happening in the NBA? We have two winless teams still. 76ers and the Pelicans. God, the Pelicans are trash.
Yeah, the Pelicans are really bad.
It's another prime example of an MVP player trash team. Well, the Rockets aren't as bad as the Pelicans, but God bless Anthony Davis for being in that situation, man.
Yeah, he's... I don't even want to try to recite the first game numbers that he had. It was something like 50-something points.
It was like 50 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, something.
It was crazy. Go look it up. I don't even want to try. It was absurd. And to put those up and lose, that has to just be demoralizing, as a player on that team. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But switching off the Pelicans, 76ers are the 76ers. Trust the process.
What process do they have to trust?
Yeah, exactly.
76ers are like a burning dumpster fire that's been waiting, so it's never going to be put out ever. It's like an eternal dumpster fire of trash juice shit.
True, trash juice. If you've listened to Second String, that is a Jake trademark.
# trash juice. Use it, abuse it, love it.
Anyways, though, one actual positive basketball thing, the Sixers, has been Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
I like watching him play. I don't know about you, but he is an entertaining player.
He had an absolute monster LeBron block last night.
Yeah.
2 nights ago.
And just for being a 7-footer, the athleticism and...
They had some major worries about him. He sat out full 2 years, gained a little weight, looked like he wasn't, in shape to even play, didn't have the motivation to get back on the court soon, but...
And he's only been playing basketball for a few years. He has unbelievable attention.
That is freakish.
Attention. Unbelievable potential.
Oh, yeah.
To be something great. So, he's someone who's fun to watch, even though the 76ers aren't.
Yeah.
And someone I'm definitely keeping my eye on for future years.
Well, now that we're talking about... Sorry. Thinking about Damian got a little caught up in myself. Just kidding. Now that we're talking about these other players, one of the questions that we did get tweeted in at us is there a third AllStar potential trade situation that we would like to, sort of potentially see mid-season soon happening? Because that's been the big discussion, that the Blazers, as much as we hate to say it, probably aren't going to make that final push until we have that third piece on the team, that third All-Star to accompany Damian and CJ.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to, kind of think up names like that because it's kind of
endless.
too.
There's,
it's also too
DeMarcus
young.
Cousins is
yeah,
always thrown out there.
it's also too young in the season to be able to know what teams are kind of underperforming, at a consistent basis.
Yeah. And it's also too young in the season to even put a label on our players. I mean, who knows? I mean, I can't really put my finger on a single player right now that could be playing at all-star level come the end of the year. But,
yeah,
there's the Mason Plumlees of the team that if they get a little bit more consistent, could be that, not all-star, superstar third piece, but a consistent third wheel that could push us into that Western Conference Finals category type of thing.
Yeah, like we talked about, there's a lot of people underperforming, and I kind of want to see where they get to once they get in full swing of things. Evan Turner. Yeah, pretty much.
Alan Crabb.
But, like you mentioned, I think someone who would kind of fit our team is like a DeMarcus Cousins type. Obviously, he's had his troubles in Sacramento. He'd be coming to another sort of small market team. He's friends with Damian. This is obviously just complete speculation, but I think he's someone who they would be willing to give up for the right price, and someone who I think could possibly be a target in the future for the Blazers.
Yeah.
Packaging a couple of these guys, like we've talked about on the previous show, we have a lot of depth. Packaging a couple of these guys who are pieces and putting them into one bigger thing, one bigger player, and who can help us take that next step.
Yeah. Man, that covers it pretty well, the Blazers. Anything else that you've noticed that we can talk about the season so far coming up?
Yeah, not too much. It's just a young season. And
this is such an early preview into the season. I mean, not much to talk about yet, but obviously as we get deeper in the season, these podcasts, we're going to have a lot more to talk about,
Yeah, and I'm really interested in tonight's game, honestly, because
Phoenix plays us really well. And if we can get over the hump of playing a team like Phoenix that just gets the best of us,
yeah,
that'd be big.
And, playing at home is nice. So, yeah, I think tonight, to go get to 5-3 if we were to win, play at home, finally get over the hump with this Phoenix team, like Jake just said. I think that's kind of a big game, confidence game, and I think it could serve us well going forward.
Yeah.
So tonight I think is a pretty big game as far as this season goes.
And by the time you guys listen to this, game will be over. Hopefully we're able to say it was a Portland win. But, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the Clippers game before we wrap this up, since that'll be the game that you have to look forward to once this podcast comes out. What do you think the keys are to the Clippers game? We've already seen it once this year. We played them really well in that game. Sort of came down to the wire, some iffy refereeing, as usual. But
yeah, I think.
What do you think of that Dame CP3 matchup? CP kind of gets the best of
CP3 is a veteran and someone who's been in the league a lot longer than Dame has, and he uses that to his advantage. I think what we have to do is stay out of foul trouble. I think that's big.
Yep.
That's something that like Blake and DeAndre draw a lot of fouls, and CP3 is also really crafty, who can get Dame into foul trouble. Staying out of foul trouble, I think keeping them off the 3-point line. We got to contain JJ Redick and Jamal Crawford if he comes in. CP3 can even shoot the 3. I think keeping them off that line is also key. So they're obviously a good team, but they're beatable for sure. So I'm looking forward to that game.
Yep, agreed. Nothing much more to say. That's pretty much all we have to talk about so far. Early into the season, we recapped some player performance. CJ and Damian, we've highlighted their season so far. Stellar as always. Looking forward to the rest of the season. Looking forward to doing more Trailblazers podcasts. Once again, if you like this, you can follow our SoundCloud and YouTube. Just type in Second String Sports. You'll find us. We're popping. You do what you want.
We got that SoundCloud Pro, so we got the little star. Look
out for the star, fam. We shining in this bit. We some star boys like Weekend, man. I'm a muffin star boy. Anyways, you can hashtag Second String Sports, hashtag Second SS, or tweet at Second String Sports with a Z on Twitter throughout the week. Anything sports going down in the basketball world, you can tweet it at us. We're going to talk about it on the Rip City podcast. And if you got anybody out there who's a football fan, baseball fan, general NBA fan, we're doing a weekly podcast of the Second String Sports Show with our other co-hosts, Jeff and Logan, sort of talking about anything and everything in the sports world, Oregon State sports, professional sports, whatever we want to talk about. And yeah, some more interviews like the Lamar Hurd one we got planned to go down. We released those as their own separate entities. So if you have someone that you'd like us to interview that's not insanely impossible to do, like a LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Justin Bieber,
Barack Obama.
Yeah, we might be able to pull.
Yeah, maybe.
Pull
He likes
a few
sports.
strings. But if you got someone in the local sports realm that you want us to interview, you want to hear their side of something, tweet it at us. Let us know.
Yeah,
See
let
if we
us
can
know.
make it
Be on
happen.
the lookout. Be on the lookout for new stuff. This is only the second episode of the Rip City, specific podcast, but we're gonna be doing more. So just look out for the checkpoints in the year when we're doing some shows.
Yep, more to come. Rip City, Skozers.
Thanks for listening.
Not much else to say. We're just a few young boys out here mobbing in the streets, watching Blazers.
The 503.
503 boys.
Go Blazers.
Go Blazers. Watch the game, drink some beers.
Peace.
Peace out.